Hi, welcome back to my video channel about this street. I would like to show you this wonderful castle, and this is the Gloriette. It's really amazing, and it's so close, just 500 meters. Unfortunately, the street is traffic infested to the maximum. That's a real big problem here. But I want to show you, I think you can see it over there, Schönbrunn, and the railway tracks. We are back again on my tour for this beautiful district, and I would like to remind you, over there, the Rudolf's Museum for the Balkans. Don't forget, if you have not seen the other video, this is the technical museum currently. I would like to have it as the Rudolf Museum for the Balkans. And in front of it, it's a huge park, not Schönbrunn directly, I'm not like that. But this is the Skanderbeg Park. I'm calling for renaming that park into the Skanderbeg Park, the Skanderbeg, the Albanian hero. It would be good to rename the Auer Welsbach Park into the Skanderbeg Park. Yeah. Close to Schönbrunn, they were allies, and this was a logical thing. And the Rudolfsheim Museum, the Crown Prince Rudolf, that is absolutely also his district here. Everything is named after Rudolf. I will show you in a second. But just to remind you, here the Skanderbeg, because now I will rename 6 squares and 6 places, 6 streets for the 6 Western Balkan countries, which are unfortunately rejected by Austria in terms of EU and membership, because we are now very closed, and we don't want to see any new countries. And that I would like to change with proposing to rename 6 squares and streets here alongside these famous 6 countries which we currently reject. And the people are already here in Vienna, and anyhow Vienna is a multicultural town. And that's good, very good. So, and I will show you now the 6. And this was number 1. This was the Skanderbeg Square, as you know very well. And I will walk you now through all the 6 squares and streets which I propose to rename. And this was the first one for Albania, for Skanderbeg. And now we are heading into the 15th district. This is where I am. And these are my proposals for renaming the 15th district. Also, I show you a little bit of the traffic here, because we don't have a real Western Ring Road in Vienna. We have this Jonstraße, it's called, as a kind of a main truck avenue. It's always highly traffic infested, because nobody dared or nobody wanted to invest in a Vienna forest tunnel for cars and trucks. They are not staying in this district, they are just passing to the richer parts, or because of the beltway, the Gürtel, being blocked with a lot of traffic, and so we have the mess here in our district. Anyhow, that's a bigger topic, but let's say now goodbye to Schönbrunn Castle. You see it very close, and we are heading now over to the second square I would like to show you. That's the square for Bosnia. And just to remind you, this whole district is named after Rudolf. Unfortunately, it has a hyphenated name, Fünfhaus, that comes from the history of having different villages reintegrated, but it's best only to be named Rudolf's district, after the Crown Prince, ultimately. And here you see this pharmacy. Oh, no surprise, Rudolf's pharmacy. That's basically the whole district here. Should be just named Rudolf's district. I mean, he was not a very successful personality. He had many plans for the future. He was never allowed to really govern. He ultimately ended tragically in suicide. Anyhow, that's a different part of history. Now we're coming to the first square, which I would like to devote to the former president of Bosnia, the founding president. It's called Vienna Platz, and this should be renamed in the name of Alija Izetbegovic Square. That's very important, because we have done so much to support also the statehood of, actually maybe it should be named Alois Mock Square then. Alois Mock certainly has a lot of squares already somewhere in Upper Austria, in Lower Austria, but here this Vienna Square is the optimum square to commemorate and celebrate the achievements of statehood of Bosnia, Alija Izetbegovic, obviously it should have also a monument of him, and to make sure that we celebrate his achievements and also that we are proud of it. I would like to show you what in Vienna works very well also when you are from Southeastern Europe. We have these playgrounds, the sports facilities. You can see it. It's actually very nice. Children can play in the playground, the smaller children, and for ball sports we have these protected fields. That's something Vienna does first class, really. It's nice square, and I think Alija Izetbegovic will be honored with a monument here. There's also a lot of people from Bosnia living here, and the language is spoken here. A lot of people got refugee, especially in this poorer part of Vienna, and now it's booming as well. But we should also honor this history of the helping hands, the neighbor in need, Nachbar in Not, all these traditions. That's, by the way, the Austrian waste collection system. Very sophisticated, and it's a well-organized city in many aspects. But what is missing is a bit serious support of Southeastern Europe commemoration culture, and this I would like to change. Here, the Vienna Square, I think it's well visible, and this should be the Alija Izetbegovic Square. You know already Alija Izetbegovic, I think I have not to explain. He is the first president, the leader of the independence movement. On 1st of March he got the recognition managed of the world of Bosnia. He defended also against Serb aggression, and he was then with the American backing forging the alliance called Washington Agreement in '94, after sadly the Croatians having led 1 year of war against the Bosnians in the effort to divide that beautiful country. But that was ended by American power, and so Alija Izetbegovic certainly the one big hero of that nation, and we should honor him with one square, and this is the perfect one. Just a short reminder, Vienna Square instead of, and then replacing it with Alija Izetbegovic Square. This is my second proposal, just to keep track, and there will be 6 of them. So bear with me some moments, and I will immediately outline all the 6. We are coming obviously to my favorite Bosnian statesman, also Balkan statesman, to the square of Ibrahim Rugova. And here we will have the 3rd square. It's conveniently very close. And Ibrahim Rugova was similar like Izetbegovic, one of the generation of Balkan leaders to break away from Yugoslavia. But unfortunately he was not allowed to be recognized by the West. We were weak. We rejected the '91 independence, different than Macedonia, Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia. The West was confused and believed this kind of narrative of Serbia, that Bosnia, also that Kosovo, is just a province, not a republic. That was the unfortunate situation of the '74 constitution, and based on that, recognition was rejected with all this lost decade and disaster. And here we come to the second very important place. We are walking now up the Eduard-Süß-Gasse, and here we are, the Ibrahim Rugova Square. That's called in the Märzstraße. The Märzstraße, you know where I am? Here Märzstraße, famously Eduard-Süß-Gasse, and there again the Jonstraße, here to see, and this should be the Ibrahim Rugova Square. It's, by the way, a famous place, and Austrian famous football star Alaba in Bavaria he plays now. He has trained here in one of these football cages, and he got to be a superstar. So a short monument for him would be also appropriate. But nevertheless, for Ibrahim Rugova, this square should be renamed. It has now some kind of less relevant historical name, hard to pronounce, Forica Square or something like this. But I think we could easily rename that into the Alia Izetbegovic Square. No, Ibrahim Rugova. Yeah, they are very much connected, and I think they were both from the same generations. They are both heroes of Balkan Freedom, and I think that would be absolutely appropriate to do that kind of renaming. I think that would be. We are closing into the so-called Herzegnov Square, the Meißelmarkt, and we are. Oh, it's a place of sport. People do yoga here, so that's really good. So we are heading up to the school, and this is the Ibrahim Rugova Square. It's also something visible nice when you see the sports facilities here. This is very good in Vienna. I like it. There's also a playground. I do sports here also daily in the morning. Yes, that's what I do. And I love it. It's a very nice square, a good monument of Ibrahim Rugova in the center. Some video surveillance would be also good, because as you see, there's a lot of vandalism in Vienna, and some kind of evening parties have destroyed the table tennis square. That's very unfortunately. You see how closely connected to, and how that's a playground. I will not make a video of that, but we are having all this nice situation here, and I think it's really good. So follow me on the Skanderbeg Square and on the Ibrahim Rugova Square and the Alia Izetbegovic Square, and this should be the way to honor our allies and partners, our friends, but also I call for that as a protest against the Austrian anti-Balkan politics, as you understand maybe, because we are really doing that very badly. The last years especially. It started in 2015 obviously, and then the rise of Sebastian Kurz to power, always claiming to be a friend, in reality blocking all future for the Balkans and for everybody from Southeast. No Schengen enlargement, no Euro enlargement, no NATO enlargement, no EU enlargement. Wherever he can, he blocks, and that's of course a disaster. And so we are up here. It's a bit of a inclination. You see, I'm already 52. So below that, also to be clear, there is now the U3, and this should be also the connector subway, the U7. I will make a separate video about that one, but that's really important. Then we are here, back up here on the so-called Herzegnov Square. It's called the Meißelmarkt. It's very Balkan already, and down here all the specialities of Southeastern Europe you can find in that market. It's one of the best markets of Vienna, and if you're inside here, I just can recommend everything tasty from Turkey, from Kosovo, from Albania, from Bosnia, all Mesara and all the bazaar. It's beautiful, and imagine when this square is finished. I repeat, it's the current Meißelmarkt. Yes, this market, this whole square will be beautiful, you know, not sitting on park benches like it is at the moment, but a real beautiful square like in the Mediterranean, like in Herzegnov. People sitting in coffees and being happy with open Vienna, open for integration, obviously from the Balkans, but from everywhere. But first of all for our friends from Montenegro, Albania, Macedonia, Serbia, Bosnia and everywhere else. But focus on that one, because Herzegnov is such a beautiful city. By the way, regards, I hope to see it again this summer. And it's so beautiful, this open space to be used by people sitting, drinking beautiful coffees and being the center of the town, of the 15th district at least, but being with love and with happiness, yeah? Not with poverty, but with beauty. And you call it gentrification. I know that's bad, yeah, I know. Rich people being happier, but I'm in favor of poor people getting rich. At least affluent, at least decent. And you know, and nice places could be done nicely, then people live much better. I think so. And actually life quality in Southeastern Europe is anyhow much better already, despite of course the economic situations. For work it's much better in Vienna, there's no doubt. And there's major things to be learned from each other. I don't want to hide that. But that was the Herzegnov Square, because now I'm in this renaming, and this was basically already the Skanderbeg Square or park, our Welsbach, and then it's the Alia Izetbegovic Square, the former Vienna Square, and then it's obviously the Ibrahim Rugova Square, the former furniture or something. Yeah, anyhow, it's much better. Ibrahim Rugova, he's a global personality, a hero of freedom. I think we should be honored if we can use his name even. And here the Herzegnov Square, and that's obviously the 4th and the 5th, I'm correct. 1, 2, 3 Herzegnov, and now we come obviously back to Märzstraße. This is the future Balkan Promenade, but I have a better name in preparation. Märzstraße is a very long street and needs an important personality to be named after this Balkan Promenade, this Shetterliste it's called in Montenegro and Serbia, this kind of pedestrian zone, and I'm for the pedestrianization of the Märzstraße, but also to change the name. I have proposed Balkan. It's also a good idea, but I'm now in favor of renaming Märzstraße. Here we are in Märzstraße. It's beautiful with a lot of old buildings, and it's actually a very beautiful part. I mentioned already this was the part close to Schönbrunn, where the city in the boom town from the 1880s towards to the start of World War I, this was all built, and it was completed beautifully because it was close to Schönbrunn. It was meant to be a luxury area. Unfortunately, we have not still enough people here and not still enough economic power to fill it, because we live in the ruins of our ancestors, and we have not. I think it's a quote of Goethe. I'm not really good in translating, but we have to live up to the potential which our generations before have created, and this is absolutely one sign here. Here it's Märzstraße. Obviously it's still a poor part of town, no doubt, and we are a little bit shabby. Here Märzstraße, you can see it, yeah, Märzstraße. So I propose Märzstraße to call Zoran Djindjic Street. Yeah? He was the prime minister assassinated in 2003 by these extremist terrorist police units, which were afraid of their own future because he wanted to extradite them, but also they were against his pro-European policy, against his potential recognition of Kosovo, and his pro-Western line. They hated him. They had to kill him. There's now a big debate, was he killed because he was against the mafia or against the Serb nationalism? You know, it's all the same ultimately. You know, who really knows who gave the order politically? Many names are mentioned from his former allies, from his enemies, Kostunica. You know, we never know who really nodded off and said, I don't want to be. Because the concept of plausible deniability they have also learned very well in the Yugoslavian secret services. So we will never know, but this street is the perfect street for honoring him. He was a great statesman. He was the hero of European Serbia. He is one of my personal heroes. I was honored to meet him twice in Vienna and in Belgrade, and he was a very courageous man, spoke very good German, and obviously this would be the perfect street for him. Huh? And imagine, as pedestrian area in his name, with a beautiful monument for him, obviously also to be video surveillance and all of them, because there is a dangerous element still on all sides in the Balkans who are ready to desecrate some kind of memorials and monuments easily against Rugova, against Izetbegovic, against Djindjic. I'm sure they will do it. So it needs to be video surveilled as well, there is no doubt. But imagine how beautiful that town would be with the fact that all of this area would be renamed after Zoran Djindjic, the whole street until the Gürtel, and then we are in a much better Vienna, and we are proud of our friendship with the heroes of Balkan Freedom, and we can also then celebrate much more that we have a good friends in Southeastern Europe, and obviously we can regret every day walking through the streets, we can regret our shameful policy of blocking this country's EU future. That's something we should walk here while we see these heroes of Balkans and their monuments, and then we can use it always to say, I'm really sorry, I'm deeply sorry as an Austrian elite to block Southeastern European countries' future in the European Union. And obviously that is exactly what we should do. And now there is remember the Skanderbeg Square, the Zoran Djindjic Street, the Alija Izetbegovic Square, and also the Ibrahim Rugova Square, Herceg Novi for Montenegro, the big square on the top of the place, and then also to have one square, and that's the Rugova Square. I propose for Macedonia, but I propose to call it the so-called Prespa Peace Square. That's the sixth one. You know, 6 names recognition, it's maybe a lifelong mission of mine, because I'm sure nobody will really do that, because they hate the Balkans here, and they hate also the people who live here, because they have allowed it to develop as a slum and under very bad conditions, obviously. And that can only be the reason that I show you again some of the parts, how it looks here. Some parts are nicer, obviously, but much of it is in a really bad condition. And the only reason I have for that, because I think it's basically left to rot, underdeveloped, by a city government who really doesn't like its people, because they are mostly new people, poorer people. It's the poorest district of Vienna. Look how it looks. And you know, that's obviously a sign of neglect and disdain from the city authorities. Then you have all this kind of level of development, and I don't want to involve anybody in my video. Yesterday you saw already some people were asking me for comments and ready to give interviews. You know, I'm for an open Vienna. I'm for open Austria, a European Austria. We have not even reached the population of 1930. We are very much behind. Normally Vienna, without the wars, the expulsions and the disaster, could easily accommodate 3 million people. But as we are just not even as much as we have been 1913. You know, we are such a kind of a decline. It's getting a bit better the last 20 years. But the mentality, this growth in the last 20 years has already led to a lot of people rejecting growth and openness and prosperity, and they prefer to be among themselves. And the parts where the new Austrians live, so many of them have citizenships already, but they are neglected. And the nicer parts, like the first district, they get all the investment, and this part gets about nothing, as I can show you. And what is done without care. Here again, you know, it's not renovated. What is done is public transport, and obviously I'm not saying there's no investment, yeah, but it's also then done without love and care, as you can see in that square. Just beton, beton, beton. The claim of a green Vienna, you can it's not happening. It's maybe happening, but somewhere else, yeah. And here, this is the Herzegnov Square, which I propose. And down there, I will not walk the whole way, because that's a bit longer along the Zoran Djindjic Avenue here along. It's basically the road to the Gürtel, the Beltway. And just let me close now with a statement. The Prespa piece, that's also important. That should be the Rugova Square. That's basically the sixth and the closing in that circle of renaming, because that's so important. It's the biggest peace agreement we did in the European Union has achieved. And it needs to be celebrated, and we in Vienna should be proud about it, because it has led to Macedonia joining NATO. Hopefully Austria and will be invited by Macedonia if we make friends. They will be hopefully inviting us together with the Albanians, and that's also part of the reason for my small campaign. I hope that the future and already current NATO members, they will be merciful and invite Austria to NATO, because we need allies to make us this offer to be inside. And look how the reality I showed you already, the poverty everything is smeared, and the situation is like that because there is visible from the city authorities no love for this region and this district, and then also people don't love it because if it's a kind of a combination, a mutually declining spiral downwards, and that's of course very worrying. So that's my 6. I have made it clear, I think. The Balkan Peace Square further below the Zoran Djindjic road, and then also the Ibrahim Rugova Square, and the Alija Izetbegovic Square, the Herzegnov Square, beautiful here with coffees and the culture of welcoming and openness, and also the Prespa piece. It's 6, 6 should be. We could also name and honor Croatia, obviously, and also other beautiful Slovenia. But I want to focus now on the 6th country Austria is rejecting all the time, because that should be also the message with my small video, that it's not only about urban development. My focus is obviously to enlarge the European Union and NATO and make sure that Vienna supports that. Unfortunately, it seems for me I'm pretty lonely, maybe the only one. And so I show you still some of the retail capacities here on this most amazing square, because that one actually was expensive, and here the property prices actually are expensive, but unfortunately without creativity, innovation, then the situation looks as it looks, and that's, I think, quite shaming. So this is my closing statement. I call for these 6 squares to be renamed, and I'm looking forward for your support in that initiative. And I think we should also include all the 6 countries in the European Union once they have adopted the euro and joined NATO, of course, and also hopefully have their support for Austria to join NATO as well. That would be very nice. And then we can celebrate an open and successful Vienna, a capital of Southeastern Europe and of Central Europe, worth the name, great for tourism and also great for the people who live here in all districts, not only in where the rich Viennese live and their Russian compatriots in the villas in Grinzing and Hitzing and in the first district. And I think that this kind of Vienna, which is really also what the Social Democrats should support, a more equitable and open Vienna. Unfortunately, they have decided against it. And you see, they have completely neglected here some kind of grey, stray area here, and some leaving the city basically without a serious kind of investment nor serious care. And so openness is an illusion. And then you see all this kind of extreme left-wing graffitis here. I will make a separate video about that one, and also about the occupied house. That's also a highlight. But in closing, I think that this will be the 6 new names, which I will make a continuous campaign in the next years. And I think it's a wonderful idea. I especially like the idea of the Zoran Djindjic street instead of Märzstraße, and I like also the idea of the Skanderbeg Square. That will be beautiful. But also then about the Prespa Peace Square. And here it's multinational. You see a lot of Chinese, Turkish shops. The whole world is here. That's really good. That's the openness. And over there is the Social Democrats. They have, if you see, that's the party headquarters of the Social Democrats. They are there as well. Over there, you see, and they are having the office. But you know, they certainly control this district very well. But unfortunately, you know, they should be open. Actually, that's the idea. They should be for a more equitable development. That's so surprising. Maybe they lack the ideas, maybe they never watch my videos. Maybe they don't like me, that's also possible. Maybe they don't like the people here. That's very sad, And I think what I would like to see as a result of my activities is also a little bit of more care and love for this district. Here's a school. I will not make the video of that one. I just will swap the side. And here is the Hofer. I always buy some beautiful Topfencollagen, because our culinary situation is very mixed with a lot of traditions from Southeastern Europe, because we were one empire together 100 years ago. I'm not in any way nostalgic, but when you see that we are now so distant, it's quite shocking. And here, maybe as the last of this small city tour, this is the occupied house. You know, they are very much with a full, very left-wing ideology about fight against. They are also. The worst is now gone, because they were celebrating the Austrian Civil War of 34, and that was kind of wild. They basically have occupied that house. Also, the authorities seem to be okay with that. And in the 1st of May, they always devastate one of the parks. It's also quite bad. But you know, we are close to the emperor, and maybe I wanted to show you in closing this kind of. Is it good to see? You see down there is Schönbrunn and the Gloriette. Yeah, just about 700 meters now to walk. There's also a good bus, and we have all these beautiful things here in this district. It's actually, as I said, the pumping heart of new Vienna. It's beautiful here. I like it very much, but unfortunately, as we see, it is a little bit neglected, and that should be definitely changed. And that is one of my small missions and visions to do that. Good. So we are back at the. Yes. Here I can show you this. That's also good, because that's the Forschnerich Park. Yeah. It was a poet in the First World War. Hopefully not for the war. But anyhow, this is the city environmental person here, you see, and also the kind of district mayor. We have this per district one mayor, and I will also send them these videos. Mr. Satlokal, yeah, he's probably also from Southeastern Europe, but he seems not to, probably from Czech Republic in origin with the name. And so this is the square for Ibrahim Rugova. That would be perfect. And this family of this poet will be certainly. We can do a museum for the poet, or anybody can read his books. But the name of the park, I think it's much better for the heroes of freedom of Southeastern Europe. This one for Rugova, for Izetbegovic, for Djindjic, for Skanderbeg, and also for the Prespa piece, and also for Herzegnov. 6 names, 6 locations, 6 beautiful spots, and I think a good contribution for peace in the Balkans and for a more open Austria, and also for Austria supporting the membership of all the 6 missing Western Balkan states in the European Union, and also to open Schengen for them, and open Schengen for Bulgaria, Romania, and for Croatia, and do all the things which Sebastian Kurz has not done in the last 6 years, or at least he has blocked them. And that would be really so wonderful and worth a video. So, best regards from Vienna 15. Come here once. Most of the Viennese have not been ever here, and so I make a little bit of advertisement for this district. Yeah, it's worth to see, worth to watch. It's actually beautiful. Should I still show you the walk down to the Izetbegovic Square? I think, and then on the road, that's a bit too far for today. That's the road to the Skanderbeg Square, and that I won't do now, but it's quite nice still to walk downhill and to see the traffic of the Jonstrasse, because there is no tunnel in the Vienna forest, and you see how beautiful everything is when you see the castle Gloriette. I love actually this walk very much, because you see in the evening it's enlightened, illuminated, and you see, I will do some experiment to give you the full view. Yeah, exactly, you see, now I survive. But here you see how beautiful this downhill descent is. And obviously it's quite logical to build from the subway U4 to the so-called U7, and that would be the connector a subway from down there at the station. There's the U4, and then you have one already at the Technical Museum, the future Rudolf Museum. You call it Station Rudolf. Obviously that's logical. And here you call it the Herzegnov Station number 2, and then beyond at Schmelz it's one station, and one station Istanbul for the 16th district. Okay, you can call it differently, but I would then use some of these terms for that. And then at Elterland Place, and that would be very logical to relieve the traffic and also to build some parking sub-level garages under the Rugova and Izetbegovic squares in renovating them, and also a big park and ride center under the Skanderbeg Square over there, you know, Skanderbeg Square. You forgot the Skanderbeg Square? Oh, he was a good ally of the Habsburgs. Yeah, he was a Catholic hero. Oh, it's not about that. It's just, you know, he is the overriding hero of the Albanians. And I think we do not have a lot of monuments for Albania. And we still have this crown and the sword of Skanderbeg in Vienna. We gave it back just for 3 months to the Albanians in the celebration of 100 years of Albania. But we have since then done about nothing for Albania, to my best knowledge, but blocking Albania from EU membership, obviously, and delaying it and saying nice things in the face. The future of the Western Balkan is for sure in the European Union in 2202 and such things. We have definitely done that. But in between we have done, I think, little else, beside the minimum, which was necessary not to be impolite, but in tangible terms. One more. See? I risk my life. You see the Gloriette? Beautiful. I love it. Yeah, that's my story about that part of the 15th district and the 6th renaming, and about how it looks here, how it is neglected, and we have closed the circle here. And yeah, you know, in a closing statement, I really love Vienna, but I'm really sorry for the condition I find parts of Vienna now when I come back and I see how it is, also with the impressions from Southeastern Europe and from Ukraine, where everything is moving up so fast. Also Vienna is moving up, but we are blocking ourselves. We are not as open enough. We are far from the European Vienna I hoped to find when I came back, and I think this should change. Good, that was the short circle for today. More to come. Bye. For peace.